Okay, Saturday, May 7th, 2022. Haven't made a video in many months. This will be my last video in these woods. I'm moving away from this place. I've given up on the house project. I'll explain that at a different time. Not right now. Right now what I want to talk about is, well, I don't think Derek Chauvin was given a fair trial because it was the most public trial in recent history, and I think the jury was pressured. I think the entire judicial apparatus was bent and twisted by the attention that was on this. And so I've been thinking, what was motivating the attention? It was the George Floyd, it was the BLM racial justice movement. And so I've been thinking, is this a liberal movement? Is this motivated by a set of liberal ideas? Does this fall in the category of liberalism? This whole movement that formed around the George Floyd incident. Well, the movement that was there before that, but generally what mechanisms were in control during, what decided that that Derek Chauvin should go to jail? What decided that? Here's my bridge, by the way. This is, I figured I gotta show this before I leave. I built this thing just so I can walk over this one spot here. Anyway, what put Derek Chauvin in jail? Was it a fair trial? Was justice blind? To me, the concept of justice being blind is indistinguishable from liberal values. Ironically, the whole BLM thing, the racial justice movement, at least some aspect of it, is attempting to push for a system that is more blind. You want a system that doesn't really know what race you are, right? Unless you're one of these anti-racist people, which is where I think this becomes illiberal. If you think that the solution to racism is anti-racism, if you think reparations is a good idea, if you think any sort of reversal or policy, any policy that has a concept of race is, in my opinion, by definition, non-liberal. It's illiberal because it's no longer equality under the law. The way I see it is, rather than being subservient to a higher ideal, like liberalism, right? Rather than all of us being equal under the law, rather than pulling your values from up there, you're looking at me or you're looking at people around you and you're saying, you're talking about something that's between me and you rather than something that's above both of us. It's kind of how I see it. And I think liberalism is above both of us. And I think this whole racist, anti-racist thing, any sort of idea that you have that involves race, really, I think is racist. And it also is an idea that's between two people rather than above two people. And so I wanted to talk about some evolutionary psychology really fast. Well, probably not that fast, but so if you think about it, your ancestors, all your ancestors going back to the beginning of animals, the beginning of nervous systems, have always I don't know how to say this without it sounding kind of woo-woo, symbolic. Well, basically, the ground has always been here, and the sky's always been there. There's always been a world above and a world below. And, if you think about it, our language, our conceptual understanding of the world, up is always different than down in a meaningful sense. You never say, oh, you're moving down in the world. You always say, moving up in the world. You know, up is kind of has the sense of, up has a different feeling than down. And I would say that that's because of evolutionary reasons. Like, we're built with that. You're born with that understanding. You're born with that knowledge. That's knowledge that's been embodied by millions and millions of years of evolution. For some reason, I mean, you can kind of guess. Up there is more predictable. Up there is where the stars and the sun, the moon is. It's predictable. It's consistent. Down here, below me, inconsistent, random, dirty. Patterns are way harder to figure out. I think that's why we sort of associate heaven with up, hell with below. Sort of, that's why we say, oh, I got to get down into the details. You never say, I got to get up into the details. You can be thinking high level, and that's like abstract, high level thinking. Or you can be down looking at the specifics, the dirty details. So there's this kind of conceptual association with up and down that I don't think is just a fluke of human civilization. I don't think if you ran the human experiment over again, you would find some sort of society where, I don't think there's even a chance you'd find some society that didn't associate upness with something and downness with something else. I think you could probably find that cross-culturally. Most of our mythology involves, there's the sense in which below maybe ground or water, there's always like formless kind of chaos below, and then above is some kind of orderly, ideal world, and that makes me... Anyway, point is, I think liberalism comes from above. I think it does, and I think racism comes from here. Racism is here. It's below us. Maybe not even below us. It's just at our level. Liberalism is above all of us. And so, when it comes to ordering societies, if you think about it, so if you think about, the societies that are founded on liberal values are the ones that have all of the money right now. And there's a reason for that. If you think about a feudal society, people in places where people say, long live the king, their ideal, their structure of their society is based off of the king. It's based off the monarch, the king or the queen. That's why people say for queen and country. Their ideal is embodied in a human being that sits at the top of some kind of social hierarchy, rather than an ideal that sits above everyone. So I think that's the big realization of liberalism, was that, wait a second, the king is not special. That person we don't need to have our society. The stability of our society need not rest upon the life of one man or woman. But that's not even right. It's more like, somehow it seems like liberalism is a more clean, it provides a better separation between the ideal and the humans that are part of the system that's based on the ideal. Monarchies were great. I mean, they're stable. They're good for some people. It's good in the sense that it's a stable societal structure, but we couldn't have had capitalism without liberalism, I think. But that's a strange, I don't know what people would say. Can liberalism exist devoid of capitalism? I mean, other way around. Can capitalism exist devoid of liberalism? Did a capitalist ever exist in a feudal society? If you ask me, I would say they both emerged around the same time. Liberalism probably preceded capitalism or maybe they sort of emerged at the same time. In my opinion, the whole Enlightenment, scientific revolution, all of that emerged in the same places around the same time, within the same few centuries, you know? That's kind of, I don't know what order you'd put it in. Which one came first, scientific revolution, liberalism, or capitalism? Or did they all sort of emerge in parallel, kind of? Anyway, that's why this whole, getting back to the George Floyd thing, getting back to this whole, that's what all my videos end up being about, is there's this anti-liberal strain of thinking. And it seems like the Chauvin the Chauvin trial was not fair in a liberal sense. It was not dictated by a blind judicial system. Even though the movement claims to be aiming for a blind judicial, why can't I say that? A blind justice system. What BLM at least purports to be interested in, I think, or at least what a liberal would say, is that the justice system should not care what race you are. It should be colorblind in an ideal universe. But then the next step here is, if you don't think the justice system should be colorblind, that means you're one of these anti-racist people, that the solution to current racism is new racism, that we need to have a thing in the rule book that says, oh, if you arrest a black person for some crime, that they have to be treated specially because they're black, right? If that's a thing you think, which is what a lot of people on the extreme left think, you're not liberal anymore. That's an anti-liberal stance. And I think that that is largely what motivated the BLM protests. That's the underlying ideology beneath all of it. Is this thing that's between me and you, rather than below a higher ideal, you know? Yeah. I think we have to be, as a species, as a culture, as a human race, I don't think there's such thing as we need a single meme. If we have two separate memes, the memes are going to battle each other, either in conceptual space, in our discourse, you know, through argument, or physical battle. The memes have to fight it out to find the king meme, the top meme, the highest meme. And I think we're currently, we're obviously not all united under the same thing. So we're going to have to battle it out. And it seems like talking isn't going to work. It hasn't worked so far. Seems to be getting worse. Seems to me that this anti-liberal strain of thinking is going to be in a battle against the liberal mind. I think, in the way that I see this, the way I define liberalism, I think most Americans, the majority, if I had to guess, it's like 75% or more of people in this country are liberal. Even if they vote for Republicans, even if they vote for red, even if they're a Trump fan, I think they're liberal. Because I think the word liberal really refers to, liberalism is really a set of values that almost all modern people believe in, at least claim they believe in, which would be something around the lines of equality under the law, freedom and equality is really, that's liberalism, I think. Read the Wikipedia definition. It depends on what definition you want to talk about. I think, unfortunately, people confuse liberalism with progressivism, or liberalism with open-mindedness. Somehow if you're open-minded, you're liberal. Closed-minded is anti-liberal or something. I think you can be a very closed-minded liberal, you know, or the other way around. You can be an open-minded anti-liberal. A lot of these progressives, these people in support of all these crazy racial, gender, whatever ideas, are very close-minded in my opinion, and very anti-liberal. So, but they would tell you that they're liberal. They're very liberal. I also think that, real quick aside, in the same sense, I think most people are capitalists. Even people who vote for Democrats and say that they support socialism and things, they still behave like capitalists, and they believe a lot of the same things capitalists believe in. So, you know, I mean, how can you... If you're a consumer, aren't you also a capitalist? Can capitalism today exist without consumerism? If you buy an iPhone, wouldn't that be exactly what a capitalist would do? Unless you're going to say consumerism is different from capitalism, which you could say, but I don't want to get caught up in that. Forget that. I just think most people are capitalists, no matter how you look at it, no matter what you call it. So, most people are liberal, most people are capitalists in the US. Whether you're blue or red, you're probably liberal, you're probably a capitalist, I think. And there's just this line of thinking that people would call woke, or whatever you want to call it, politically correct, neo-Marxist, postmodern neo-Marxist. I think it's a rising strain in the US. It's still like less than 5% of people, but it has been growing more and more powerful over the past 10 years. It's been flexing its muscles in various ways. And the Derek Chauvin trial, I think, was one of the most powerful flexes of this ideology, because it didn't just capture the US. It was a global event. People everywhere came out in support of this. And I don't see that as... I mean, I think the human beings that were participating in it, probably many of them are genuinely liberal people, genuinely... I have no issue with most of the people that got involved with it, but I think the metaphysical substructure of the ideology is anti-liberal, because it's basically trying to do this. I mean, judge a tool by what it does, right? That's kind of how I see it. You have to... Don't look at what a system says it does. Don't look at what a company says it does. Don't look at... Any institution will have PR, you know, whether it's a company or a public thing, or any group of people will have sort of what they express that they're doing, right? They're going to say what they're doing, but look at what they're actually... Just objectively stop listening and just watch what they're doing. BLM, I mean, this whole thing became this anti-police, abolish the police, defund the police. So that's exactly what they did in a couple places. And more black people are dying now as a result. So it made BLM, that whole thing made life worse for black people. So, and for everybody, I would say, everybody that lives in these cities where they defunded police, but more black people are dying now than before. So the movement failed. At least it didn't do what it said it was doing, which was saying, I mean, if the idea is Black Lives Matter, they appear to matter less now. So what exactly is going on? And I think the real answer is that what is going on is this is not truly about black people. It's not about trans people. It's not about any of this. It's a mind virus. It's a meme that is infecting more and more brains. And it's a very powerful meme because it disguises itself as these compassionate things, and it forces people to bow down. And it punishes those who fight against it severely. I currently have been banned from several events now because of transphobic behavior, quote unquote transphobic behavior. I'm not allowed to... I've been kicked out of Discord servers and certain... I don't want to get too much into the details, but I go try to sign up for certain events and it gives me a little message that says, you're banned for transphobic behavior. And that transphobic behavior is precisely 5 words. Trans women are not women. That's the full extent of my transphobia, is I just don't think the statement, trans women are women, is true. I think that's a false statement. If you put that in a programming language, well, I've made other videos about that, but I think it has I think that what's going on here is it doesn't have anything to do with trans people. It's a meme that demands to me it's the same pattern of behavior that I don't like it. 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 I've seen it in person. I've seen it online. I've been in rooms where this behavior has, there's a kind, it feels exactly like what I imagine it would feel like to be in a courtroom where they're putting somebody on trial for being a witch, back in the Salem witchcraft trial days. It's like a psychotic mind, it's psychosis. It's like a mass psychotic event where people abandon themselves. They become possessed by something, possessed by a spirit or a meme that it makes them not them anymore. Like when you're talking to somebody who's like, I've had arguments with people 1,000 times over now about racism, feminism, and this whole transphobia thing, right? I've argued with people constantly about this stuff, and I'm not talking to people. I'm talking to ideologues. You're talking to an ideology. You're just turning a crank on a jack in the box, you know? You're just turning a crank on a I don't know what it is. People have become possessed by it. I'm moving back to California, and I'm gonna run into these people again. And it's not just this social justice stuff. It's the same driving factor behind, I mean, again, it's the stuff where it's built on true things. Racism does exist. Sexism exists. Feminism is a real movement with real... Feminism is a thing that can actually be a good thing for everyone. It can be I don't even know. It's too complicated to... I already made so many videos about that. But then this whole... It's a powerful meme, this mind virus. It's a very, very powerful thing because I think that it tricks people. I think it tricks people. It makes people who argue against it seem evil really easily. You can't argue against BLM. Obviously, you're a white supremacist or a racist if you argue against BLM, right? Like that's... The virus is powerful. It provides people with easy tools to destroy their enemies as well. The ideology makes it very easy to look at people and be like, fuck those people. Those people are racist bigots. You know? And so the same thing happened with masks and COVID and the virus. It's like, yeah, the virus is real. Sure, masks are probably useful sometimes. Some masks are useful sometimes. Sometimes masks are useful and good to wear, but sometimes they are not. And I think, unfortunately, in the same way that trans women are not women has become this statement of truthness or falseness, where if you believe it's true, you're over here. If you believe it's false, you're over there. It's a dividing line between two groups of people, and it's like a symbol now. It's a symbol. I don't think anybody's really thinking about the truth of that statement or not. Nobody's cares. It's like you just pick a side. It's the dividing line. It's the same thing with masks. Nobody seems to be thinking about how does this actually, like, what is the objective truth of a mask? how does it actually work? Seems like you have to have an N95, it has to be fit well, and then it works, you know, and then you make these arguments about, well, you know, it's a temporary, like, it's a very, what has happened is in the same way that this social justice meme took over so much of our, you know, it's dictating reality now, some of it, the meme. And I think that this virus, this mask debate, is very similar. And, you know, I had a video taken down for saying masks might not work. This one might get taken down just for saying what I've said so far. I don't know, but that's what's so concerning. This whole thing, it's not liberal, it's anti-liberal. You're not allowed to criticize it. You know, you get banned off platforms. It's anti-speech, anti-liberal. It's not a good thing. It's not. It's not. I think what's actually liberal is universal basic income. That's an actual liberal policy. UBI. Just from a ideological perspective, I can't think of almost anything as liberal a policy as universal basic income. It treats everyone exactly the same. It's perfectly blind. It's perfectly equal. Perfectly. And yet this ideology doesn't seem to be in support of it. Anyway, 27 minutes. It's, like I said, it's May 7th. It's a Saturday. Wanted to make one more video. I might actually post this one. I've been making other videos and not posting them. I like doing this channel. I like walking around the woods and talking, but I don't like the comments and the feedback. I don't like the attention. I don't like people watching it. I mean, I guess, yeah, I'm okay with people watching, but I'm doing it more for me. It's more of a me thing. I'm talking to myself more than anything. This is more of a video journal, and I think the comments just drive me insane because people are morons, you know. I get, you know. Also, I don't think anybody. I would say that I feel very misunderstood. In a lot of ways, you know. I was banned from these events. It really bothers me. I mean, I knew that I would be if I just said 5 words. But that's what... 5 words. 5 words. It's just because I don't believe an idea. Now I can't go into a room with people. I got a message from a event coordinator over Discord, and it said, "We are an inclusive space. And if you can't handle that, you're not allowed in." Something along those lines. We are inclusive, so get out of here. I mean, it's like, that's what drives me so crazy about all this stuff. It's so, look at how the thing behaves. They say they're inclusive. They say this whole trans rights thing is about including people, and then they exclude, you know, BLM says it helps black people. It made black people's lives worse. Nothing is as it seems. Nothing's doing what it says it should be doing. I support Andrew Yang. I support Unity 2020. I support the Forward Party. I support taking an alternative route to solving the problems of this country. I don't think Trump is the answer. I don't think Biden's the answer. I don't think none of these traditional red or blue people are really the answers to what any of us need right now. I mean, you have to ask the question, where's our country right now? Where are we? Where are we going? It seems like we're headed towards violence in this country. It seems like we are inevitably headed towards some of the most extreme political violence that any of us have ever lived through. That's my prediction. Even the boomers who are alive right now, even people who are 50, have not seen what we are about to see. I don't think any previous riots in the past 50 to 70, whatever amount of years in this country, I don't think anybody's ready for it. I think that people are more anxious and more depressed than ever. People are more isolated than ever. Suicide rates are up. Polarization's up. I mean, everything is getting more extreme. The sides are pulling further and further away from each other. Inflation's clearly high. You know, this is a very pessimistic view. I do think in the end, things will work out. But it's going to get darker before it gets brighter. We are headed down before we go up. So, there are reasons to be optimistic, though. There are reasons. I think there are smart people out there right now. There's a small amount of people who nobody knows their names yet. Nobody knows what they're working on, but they're building things that will save us from ourselves, hopefully. As long as we can get through this without nuking ourselves. As long as we don't do nukes. Then we'll make it. Depends on the nuke, though. Thou shalt not enrich uranium. The 11th commandment. There should be if I could support any one law, it would be no nuclear bombs for anyone on the whole planet. That should be the one and only rule that some global organization enforces. Yeah, if we don't nuke ourselves, I think we'll be okay. I think things will get better. It's mainly, at this point, we have the technology to handle most of the physical demands, I think. Our problems are not so much, well, it's hard to say what the problems are. Okay. That's probably about it. We need to be subservient to a higher ideal. And I think that ideal should be either liberalism or something as close to that as you can possibly get. The grass is greener where you water it. Okay, bye.